And welcome back to the North Star Takes podcast with Bailey Pulicki and Jacob Alberta. We aim to offer you fresh takes and analysis on all our beloved Minnesota sports teams, as well as dipping into some national sports topics as well. You can find all our videos here on our YouTube channel at North Star Takes Podcast, and you can follow us on Twitter at North Star Takes and on Instagram at North Star Takes Podcast. Today we'll be discussing the Minnesota Wild extended their current best center, Joel Eriksson.
Good signing.
8 years, $42 million, the max contract they could have given him. Coming off a career best season this past season with 19 goals, which, they only played 56 games. So over a full season, that's a 28-goal pace, which is fantastic, especially for a guy who came into the league with not a lot of offensive skill set. And he's just gotten better each and every year. He's a gritty player. He plays on the grittiest line on the team by far with Foligno and Greenway.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on this signing? I know, I don't know if there's a Wild fan out there that doesn't like Joel Eriksson. I know he's a fan favorite. So what are your thoughts on locking him up long term?
This is a good first significant move for the Wild in this offseason, this pivotal offseason towards turning into a real contender that can win the Cup. I think this had to happen.
Yep.
Obviously, we have a lack of center depth that's very glaring. So we had to bring back the guy that really is the only calling card we have at this point. So
True.
I think this was important. Obviously, like you said, he plays two ways very well. He was a Selke Trophy. What was that, fourth place?
Yes.
I think.
Yep.
Yeah, he's fourth place in the Selke Trophy voting because he had this great season. And honestly, he eclipsed his highest goal mark by 11 goals in a shortened season here because his previous high was 8 goals. So like you said, he's really come around with his offensive game.
Mm-hmm.
So it should only get better over this 8-year contract in the prime of his career. So I think that's really huge for this team to have a guy that they can really bank on to be at least one good center. But
Right.
Obviously we'd like to add more this offseason. But this is a good start for Bill Guerin in the offseason. So
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, they had three big pieces going to this offseason. They had to give contract extensions to Kaprizov, Fiala, and Eriksson.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense to start with the smallest, or I guess the smallest of the three, in terms of importance to the team.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he's a good guy to get locked up long term. You know what you're going to get out of him. I think this guy's got future captain potential, honestly.
Yeah.
For this team, I think he's a quiet leader, but I think the players respect him.
Mm-hmm.
They follow him, and obviously he plays hard, and he had a great season. So. And I think he was our leading scorer in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
I'd say he's the best player for us in that series against Vegas.
He really was. So, yeah, I think it's a great signing, and it's, like you said, it's a step in the right direction of solidifying our center depth. Mm-hmm. We don't have much right now, and obviously there's rumors flying all over the place about the Wild trying to trade for a top center, whether it's Jack Eichel or somebody else.
I heard the name Shot Monahan being thrown around too. But.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they're going to have to create some cap space to make that work, whether it's, trading Fiala or trading Dumba. Then you have the expansion draft getting thrown into this whole mess as well.
Yes.
So it'd be really nice, I think, for the Wild to get this Eriksson and Kaprizov contract done. And, Fiala, I'd love to keep him around, but, depending on what we can get, if we do have to trade him, it might make it worth it. I don't know. I mean,
maybe
it's hard to... It's hard to understate the importance of a true number one center because, to be frank, the Wild have never, ever had a true number one center. Mikko Koivu was close. I'd say he was kind of in between a 1 and a 2.
You're discrediting him. Come on.
He just
put some respect in his name.
He's like the Joe Mauer of the Wild. At least Mauer won an MVP. But, I think it's a good signing, and hopefully the Wild can continue to grow on that.
Yeah, actually. And now you brought up Cap Finn, truly beloved, courtesy of our friend of the show, John Mann.
Oh, yes. John.
He had a nice, interesting little nugget for me the other day for Mikko Koivu in comparison to Joel Eriksson here. Mm-hmm. That back 10 years ago, the Wild paid Mikko Koivu an average annual value of $6.75 million, which is $1.5 million more per year than we're going to pay Joel Eriksson here.
Wow.
And then that was back when the salary cap was $15 million less. So if you think about how much of our cap we're really surrendering to the cap fin, I mean,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's kind of wild. So it makes you think that the value of this Eriksson deal is really high. So that's great for Guerin and company there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially with having Bill Guerin here now, I think he knows what he wants to do and how he wants to go about it. Mm-hmm. And I think he's got a plan. So yeah. I trust him completely. I mean, everything I've seen from him so far has been fantastic. All the moves he's made, bringing in Ian Cole and Nick Bonino, bringing in Cam Talbot, dishing out Dubnyk. I mean, those aren't like huge moves, but they're necessary moves, and that's kind of what makes the difference sometimes. And over the course of a single season, he changed the culture of this locker room and this team. And, he's kind of trying to weed out Zach Parise, it seems like, which, trying to change the old guard. And Suter will still be around, but that's okay. He's still performing. So I like what Guerin's doing. And, yeah, it'll be interesting what the next move is going to be. What do you think his next move is?
You got to think it would be Kaprizov. Maybe you almost want to address this Kevin Fiala situation first, just because then you have a little more clarity for Kaprizov, who really is the center of the franchise now.
Right.
But at the same time, maybe you want to figure out if you can lock up Kaprizov for sure. Because then, if you can't, then obviously Fiala you definitely have to fall back on for
sure.
But let's hope it doesn't come to that where we're losing Kaprizov and back to the KHL. That should be stupid. But I think it's got to be. Fiala. But
okay.
That's the way I'm leaning, just because I think that's probably the biggest inflection point of this roster right now, deciding if we're going to keep him around or not. Because like you said, it's hard to find good centers, and it's hard to part with a game breaker like Fiala.
Yeah.
But it might be a necessary move for cap reasons and just kind of more balancing out the roster. So.
I kind of think their next move is going to be a trade, honestly. I think he's going to try and clear some more cap space here.
Okay.
And I could see him trying to include a guy like Matt Dumba in on a trade to get, you're not going to get like a Jack Eichel, but you could probably still package Dumba, maybe some draft picks, maybe a prospect or two. I think you could still get a really good center for that package. So I think it'll be interesting. I could see them doing that. Now, that would take away an option to lose in the expansion draft, which who knows what Seattle would do then. Would they take a Jordan Greenway? Would they take one of our goalies? I don't, it's hard to say, but
yeah.
I think we've been saying this for a while now. Dumba had one good year a few years ago. Ever since then, he's been a little disappointing. And as a defenseman, he doesn't play great defense. And I think if a team thinks that he's super valuable and they're willing to give up a decent chunk of assets for him, I would absolutely consider it right away. The Wild have a guy in Kalen Addison down in Iowa who played a little bit this year as well.
He can fill that role.
He could fill that role just fine. He's another right shot defenseman that has some offensive game to him.
His cap hit comes at a much lower price.
Exactly. I think he could just step right in and do just fine. They already have Brodin and Suter and Spurgeon to lead that defensive group. So if you bring Ian Cole back, I thought he was pretty solid. So you've got a good group there. So my move would be to trade Matt Dumba and then just try and get a top center in here so you can make Kaprizov happy and then obviously get him under contract long term.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good plan of action. I think you really detailed out what Guerin should be doing, and maybe that is what he'll do, but I guess you never know. It's just kind of waiting for the chips to fall where they may with these upcoming uncertain few weeks we have in the NHL. So
right. Yeah, I'm sure there will be a method to his madness for sure.
Yeah, he's going to have some master scheme for a lot of different scenarios depending on how certain things play out and where things fall. So.
Absolutely. All right, well, that will do it for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. Be sure to like our videos and stay tuned for more by subscribing to our channel. And leave a comment below as well what you think the Wild's next move might be and what would you be willing to give up for a top center in the league today. So thanks for watching.